Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie. If you're new to the channel, make sure to head down and subscribe right down below. While he was first referenced in a 2009 creepypasta, Slenderman truly emerged into pop culture with the first Slender game in 2012. People around the world were terrified that this child-murdering creature might be around the corner. Today we'll explore the horrifying reality of a world with a real-life Slenderman. Now get ready, it's time to ask the question, what if the Slenderman was real? Slenderman is generally depicted as a tall, pale man with no face who is, unsurprisingly, very slender. He also often has a number of tentacles or tendrils coming from his back. According to the original creator of the first Slenderman photos, Eric Knudsen, he was designed to, quote, formulate something whose motivations can barely be comprehended and which caused unease and terror in a general population. And based on the way the game makes people feel, he succeeded. Slenderman is terrifying. Given that many people are unable to even finish the video game with him chasing them, most of us would be pretty useless if he was after us in real life. And you can bet we won't be stopping to pick up any pieces of paper. One particularly unsettling aspect of Slenderman is that he's believed to specifically pursue people who have become more paranoid about his existence, similar to Freddy Krueger. This is a concept that was used to great effect in the Elm Street films, and it's scary for a reason. Trying not to think of something is a great way to think of exactly that thing, and trying not to be paranoid about a terrifying creature coming to kill you is damn near impossible. And if he was real, you can bet there would be an awful lot of paranoid people out there. But being killed isn't the only thing to worry about if you're being pursued by the big guy. Some stories say that he has the ability to control one's mind with telepathy and cause sickness due to sigma radiation emitted by his body. He also seems to have some sort of teleportation ability which would make escaping him in real life very difficult. While these things would make him absolutely horrifying in real life, he has managed to cause harm to people even as a fictional character. In 2014, two 12-year-old girls went on a mission to prove themselves to Slenderman. In the end, they lured one of their friends into the woods and stabbed her 19 times. Thankfully, their friend managed to survive and the pair was later caught and sent to a mental institution, having been found not guilty by reason of mental defect. This has some pretty terrifying implications if Slenderman was real. Would he gain a following? Would people begin to support him and his actions? It may seem unlikely, but the following gained by murderers like Charles Manson indicates that there's a good chance the Slenderman would find himself with a number of deranged disciples like these two girls. If Slenderman was in fact real, life would likely change somewhat. It's possible that a curfew would be instated for children, particularly in areas where the Slenderman is known to hunt. Since he tends to attack children and tends to hunt at night, this would be an effective way of limiting his kills. Unfortunately, some believe that the fact that it suddenly turns to night when you come within his vicinity points to him having control of the day and night cycle. This, however, may just be a choice by the game developers and not true lore. Despite the dangers posed by Slenderman, it may be that he just wouldn't be a big deal. If you think about it, he's just a scarier looking serial killer who attacks rather infrequently. It could be that this would just become one of those things that people assume only happens to other people, similar to how acts of terrorism are perceived right now. It may be that we would be better off worrying about drunk drivers than Slenderman. However, as a seemingly supernatural being, it may be that his powers and terrifying appearance cause him to be feared even more, similar to the surprisingly infrequent shark attacks that are still feared by most people. Finally, it should be noted that some believe that Slenderman isn't the evil creature many claim him to be. There are a number of theories about the creature, many of which attempt to frame him as a noble hero. Some believe that he's able to foresee disaster and saves people from a horrific or painful death by giving them a quick and painless one. Unfortunately, this seems pretty unlikely due to his propensity to impale and dissect his victims in a pretty brutal way. But it's an interesting thought. And now we return to our question, what if the Slenderman was real? Well, it probably goes without saying that the world would be a lot scarier. Considering he manages to bring about evil as an urban legend, a real Slenderman would be even more lethal. With a mysterious and murderous creature out to hunt kids down at night, kids might be kept indoors after dark, and people would be far less inclined to go camping. That said, you would still probably be more likely to die in a car accident than at the hands of Slenderman, so it may not change the world too much in the long run. On the bright side, the odds of Slenderman being real are fairly slim. One might say they're slender, so don't worry too much.
What if the nun fought Slenderman? Roll the clip.
Who's that?
Whew, damn, pretty spooky, right? Well, stick a 9-foot tall suited and booted daddy longlegs and we're good to go in this demonic Royal Rumble. I'm not gonna lie, this titanic bout would be a seriously intense fight. Both of these guys have got some hardcore weaponry in their lockers, so hold on to your hats because it's going to be a close one. Weighing in at, well, presumably weightless and measuring in at anywhere between an absolutely huge 6 to 15 feet tall, Slenderman steps into our ring with some pretty terrifying credentials and an arsenal of demonically twisted appendages that will make any opponent, demons included, shudder at the thought of the pain he has in store for us. By now, Slenderman is a household name, but as we all know, his true mythological origin comes from the early creepypasta days of the internet, which has led him to appear in millions of memes, dozens of games, and an untold number of fan-generated fictional sites. That, while pandering to several different facets of Slenderman emotion, the one feeling that unites them all is fear. He's the big, bad baddie, the thing that goes bump in the night, and how can fear itself be scared of anything? Well, let me introduce you to Valak, aka the Nun, a demon of many names. Volak, Valax, Valik, whichever way you spin it, it's pretty damn scary. We're going to waylay the emphasis put on Valak as his time as a nun and focus more on his lore as a demonic overlord. Weighing in at, I don't know, whatever a pound of flesh weighs, and conveniently measuring in at the height of an average door frame, Valak potentially has the best chance against our pal Slenderman and has the backing of hell itself to bring the heat in our demonic showdown. Let's stick our demonology hats on for a moment and take a stroll through the 7 circles of hell, where according to the Lesser Key of Solomon, a Goetic grimoire written in the mid 17th century, Valak is known as the Great President of Hell and controls over 30 legions of demons which mercilessly answer to his command. Wind that back a little bit, 30 legions, where if we're going off of Roman Empire equations, that's about 5,000 troops per legion. So multiply that by 30 and we're looking at 150,000 of some of the vilest, most demonic creatures at Valak's beck and call. By sheer numbers alone, Valak already has the leg up over Mr. Slendy. But hold on a minute, because Slenderman definitely has a trick or two hidden up his own very long sleeve. Mind control. So far throughout Slenderman's plethora of literature, he's demonstrated the ability to brainwash several of his victims in an almost Stockholm Syndrome manner, where his victims become infatuated by his demonic draw and unequivocally answer to his strange bidding. He's also demonstrated partial control of his victims through proxies, as seen in the character Kate in the video game Slender: The Arrival, after she succumbed to insanity in order to fulfill his needs. It goes one further as well, as it's also theorized that Slenderman's mind control, at its most powerful, has the ability to control a human psyche like a puppet master. This example of mind control was demonstrated back in the Dark Harvest 00 augmented reality game, where we saw an entire cult known as the Order who'd succumbed to Slendy's puppeteering. So the point is, perhaps with enough time and scheming, Slenderman could build up a force of his own to even the playing field a little bit. True, it's no small feat to establish a force that could defeat 150,000 demons, and it's probably a little late in the day for him to start amassing an army, but whatever, eh? We're trying to be as fair as we can. The option's there, I guess. In that respect, Valak wins this bout hands down. In a full-scale battle, a demonic horde wipes the field without breaking too much of a sweat. Also, out of fairness, we haven't even mentioned that Valak is also commonly known as the Marquis of Snakes, and characteristically draws serpents to do his bidding. So that battlefield will be pretty well stacked, to say the least. Let's take it one-on-one though, because it's safe to say that Valak has clearly won this aspect of our theoretical scenario, and when we go demon on demon, things get a little more interesting. Slenderman's arsenal is frightening, to say the least. Slender walking, a common name given to his ability to appear and disappear at will, psychic camouflage, mind control as we've already mentioned, impersonation, selective visibility, distortion, pyrokinesis, and probably the cream of the crop, everyone's favourite offensive appendages, tentacles. When it comes to a one-on-one battle, Slenderman has the clear advantage and would definitely win this fight. Other than slipping into the clothes of Catholic nuns or pretending to be the physical equivalent of an English nursery rhyme, Valak is pretty thin on anomalous powers. He does have one advantage though, as the Lesser Key of Solomon states. Valak possesses the power to find treasures, and is demonstrated in the Conjuring franchise during the vision of Ed Warren being impaled and his offering of this to Lorraine Warren as a gift. Treasures is a loose term though, and while it may not seem like the most useful power, it points toward a tactic that Valak often utilizes. Just like with the Annabelle doll in the Conjuring franchise, Valak is a much better ally than he is as an enemy, especially to demons. And well, the most likely outcome of this hypothetical scenario is that Valak simply adds Slenderman to his menagerie of demonic allies. And then we come full circle, and more than likely, with how the majority of these things end up, Valak and Slenderman would team up and we'd all be boned.
Today we'll be breaking down what if SIRENHEAD fought Slenderman. So before these two beings go head to head, let's summarize who and what they are, as well as what they're possible of doing. Starting with SIRENHEAD, a 40-foot tall, humanoid-like entity that seems to resemble that of a telephone pole. SIRENHEAD is exactly that. A tall, lanky creature of sorts with a megaphone or possibly speakers for a head, and dry, mummified skin. Although SIRENHEAD is known to stalk his victims in the woods, he tends to use the voices of their loved ones to lure them into him. It's believed once he's close enough, SIRENHEAD will grab you and instantly kill you, although it's unclear if he kills you by ripping you apart, eating you, or he has other vicious plans to end your life. And then we got Slenderman, the creature believed to be anywhere between 6 and 15 feet, with a slim, elongated body that is normally seen in a suit. It's believed he has anywhere between 4 and 8 tentacles as well. Known for mostly going after children, Slenderman uses his long arms or tentacles to hypnotize his victims and have them walk directly into him. It's unknown if Slenderman kills his victims on the spot, takes them somewhere to kill them, or just abducts them and holds them captive, never to be seen again. One thing is for sure, if you encounter Slenderman, you won't be seen again. There's also the power Slenderman seems to have over people. Although he's clearly not real, back in 2014, two 12-year-old girls lured their friend into the woods and then brutally attacked her, seeing her as a sacrifice for Slenderman. Thankfully, the young girl managed to survive the attack, which saw her get stabbed a total of 19 times. But the fact that they carried out this act for a non-existent figure speaks volumes to the power he could possibly have. So what happens if SIRENHEAD decides to duke it out with Slenderman? Well, truth be told, I can't say there would be a clear winner. It could go either way, and I'm going to explain my case for both sides here. So let's start with that loudmouth SIRENHEAD. He's got the size advantage for sure. 4 feet compared to 8 feet. Even if Slenderman were 15 feet, still large, but it wouldn't be much of a contest if you ask me. However, luring Slenderman in the first place could be problematic, considering how he probably doesn't have any loved ones. That being said, Slenderman is known to roam the woods looking for children, so maybe SIRENHEAD could trick him by using a child's voice. There's also the possibility he hides among the trees, Slenderman walks by, and then attacks when Slenderman is least expecting. Aside from trying to find a way to ambush Slenderman, actually attacking him could be problematic. Although there is a clear difference in size, Slenderman would most likely have the advantage for many other reasons. For starters, Slenderman's skin is different. We're not really sure what it's made of, it's just different. Many say Slenderman is an extraterrestrial being of sorts, and his ability to teleport definitely supports that. Slenderman would also have the capability of having up to 8 hands or tentacles, whereas SIRENHEAD has 2 hands. However, what I think gives Slenderman the biggest advantage is the power he has over people in general. Although SIRENHEAD can lure people in using the voice of their loved ones, he can't necessarily control minds. Slenderman, on the other hand, seems to have the ability to persuade, manipulate, or control others. Children or not, Slenderman would be able to use his abilities to make an army of his own, and this is why I feel he'd win the showdown between these two beings. Now, SIRENHEAD could of course also be an extraterrestrial being or possibly a mutant creature of sorts. It's not very clear, but what is clear is that SIRENHEAD's skin is dried out, and SIRENHEAD is also known to lurk among trees. So if a forest fire were to spread, say at the hands of Slenderman's army, SIRENHEAD could quite simply be burnt down. Slenderman, on the other hand, well, it's unclear how you could really stop him, unless maybe use a flashlight. Only those who play the game will get that joke.
The Megalodon, the toothiest of deadliest sharksters and the ruler of the prehistoric ocean. Slenderman, a modern-day creepypasta turned into a waking life creepathon. A tall, quiet, faceless killer that will haunt you in your sleep. One sea creature of doom, one woodland lurker of terror. But what if they faced off against one another? Slenderman versus Megalodon. Fight! This is interesting because we have a prehistoric animal that swam its last 2.6 million years ago and a creature of urban legend that emerged in 2009 and hit dizzying heights of internet in the 2010s. The Megalodon's day is very much over, yet Slenderman's has only just begun. Although he isn't real, but that's no fun, right? Let's just assume he is. Well, firstly, how do these two killers measure up? The Megalodon was said to be a relative of the much smaller but still still living great white shark, only the Megalodon was like a jacked up uber version at 50 foot long and 50 tons, so that's over 50,000 kilos. Not to mention its giant teeth. But actually, let's mention those gnashes as they might be important and actually, they might help him win. The biggest Megalodon teeth found have been around 7 inches, and it is thought that the Megalodon had the most powerful bite in the animal kingdom. Slendy, on the other hand, may not have Megalodon-sized gnashes, but some depictions and creepypastas show him having a mouthful of pointy teeth and a terrifyingly long tongue. Like, get that away from me. Okay, but does he measure up to the shark? Well, short answer, no. The Megalodon was thought to weigh 50,000 kilos, guys. 50,000. I mean, mate, I don't care how spooky you are, that fish could quash you. Slenderman is, well, slender. Sure, he's thought to be tall, but at most he's described as being 15 feet tall, although usually he's described as being around 7 or 8 foot. I don't care what you say, even at top estimates of 15 feet, he was nowhere near as big as the Megalodon. Also, slender, so does he weigh 50,000 kilos? No, he doesn't. I'm thinking like 80 at best. All the shark need do is flop over him and he would be crushed, and that's without getting his jaws around him. Megalodon could munch old Slendy as an appetizer and amuse-bouche. Did I just want to say amuse-bouche today? Sure, but that doesn't defeat my point. It isn't over yet though. Slenderman does have a few tricks up his sleeve, and when I say a few tricks, I mean a few extra arms. Honey gets tentacly when he's mad, according to a number of artist impressions and creepypastas anyway. Perhaps with all those additional arms he would be able to hold the Megalodon down, but I don't know, perhaps they're all the better for chomping through. Slendy does have some kind of voodoo mind control thing going on. He is thought to appear in his victims' dreams and make them sick before he visits them in real life. This sickness is characterized by nausea, nosebleeds, nightmares, and hallucinations, which sounds like a rough time for Mr. Shark. Maybe Slenderman can get inside his head and that could be his key to victory, just, really freak that shark out. Or maybe it would make the Megalodon an even more dangerous predator, crazed and ill. Yikes. Okay, but hold your slender horses. How is this fight even gonna go down? Slenderman is a woodland dweller and the Megalodon lives in the ocean. 2.6 million years ago. Where would these two would-be rivals ever meet? If on land, then old Sharky is done for, and if in the ocean, well, Slenderman, does he have gills? Can he breathe underwater? Do those tentacle arms mean that he's part octopus? Would this even up the fight? Despite Slenderman's Jedi mind tricks, octo arms, and general creepiness, we can't help but think that the Megalodon would crush him with sheer size and ferocity. However, there is one final string to his silent and somewhat more sentient bow. Slenderman has been known to take human proxies. If it were more than a case of man versus shark and the bringer of doom and gloom could enlist humans, then there's no doubt he could mastermind some kind of voyage to multi-harpoon the Megalodon. But even with a small army, could he really take it down? Isn't Slenderman's things little girls in the woods anyway? I guess there's a reason he hasn't tried to take down a lion or a grizzly bear. He likes to prey on the weak, and the Megalodon simply isn't that. I'm kind of wishing that the big bad killer fish did exist today, just so we could feed Slendermen to him and be done with that creep forever. But Slenderman isn't real, so whatever. If you're scared of Slenderman, why don't you just conjure up a giant killer shark in your mind and have him chomp, because obviously the Megalodon would win.
SIRENHEAD. Doesn't it sound like a rock band from like the 80s or something? Now, I wish it was, but no. It's something way more terrifying than that. SIRENHEAD is nightmare fuel, a massive beast that you won't see coming, but could kill you in a flash. Top 10 scary SIRENHEAD facts. Starting off this countdown, we have its appearance. So let's start things off by learning about this creature's appearance. SIRENHEAD is a 40-foot tall humanoid creature with 2 speakers protruding from its neck. His entire body is coated with dried, mummified skin. SIRENHEAD also appears very malnourished and gaunt. Well, he will always maintain this appearance, even after feasting on multiple victims. He must have a super fast metabolism. Now, the only part of his body that is made of metal is parts of the speakers that are fused with his skin. He has speaker wires running down his neck and body, which can also be seen pressed into his skin. In fact, when this creature is angry, it is said that these wires will begin twitching. Now, that's not all. His arms are said to be the same length of his body, making it easy for him to grab his prey. They also say that he has a long, retractable, snake-like tongue that can wrap around its victim's neck while he eats them. He can also rotate his head around his body like an owl so he can target his victims. So this dude is the definition of creepy. In our 9th spot, we have the origins. So where does SIRENHEAD come from? Well, this will all depend on what your beliefs are. Some will believe that the artist named Trevor Henderson created the towering monster back in 2018, while others believe he's been around since the 1960s. The artist first shared an image of SIRENHEAD on his Twitter in 2018, and it had a very creepy response with people coming forward with sighting stories. However, the 40-foot tall monster was reported to be seen for the first time back in 1966 when a family on vacation in the Arizona desert captured a picture of him. Turns out the family was doing some typical tourist stuff and explored the desert, which then led them to an old cemetery. Like most people would, they were snapping some pictures, but when they developed the pictures later on, they saw the monster standing there between some gravestones. That's one family vacation you'll never forget. Coming in at number 8, we have his diet. Now, SIRENHEAD apparently only likes to eat 2 things. One of them being creatures called bloodlusts, and the other being humans. Now, bloodlusts are skinny creatures that do not have arms, ears, noses, or mouths, but they do have eyes on their forehead that act as their mouth. On top of that, these creatures are also super powerful, but SIRENHEAD is more dominant and can kill and eat them easily. In fact, in order to capture the bloodlust creatures, SIRENHEAD can remain motionless for multiple days. This allows them to attract multiple bloodlusts and then feast on them at once. However, humans are still their preferred meal. In our 7th spot, we have SIRENHEAD's location. Now, in case anyone was wondering or worrying, there's no chance of you encountering SIRENHEAD. In fact, most of the depictions of SIRENHEAD are of them in the forest lurking behind trees. It is said that they hide in the forest until a local hiker gets lost, or just until the coast is clear for them to leave and invade the small town. It's said that if their hunting isn't going according to plan, then they will relocate to another area. Moving on to number 6, we have the history of SIRENHEAD. Now, it's said that ancient rock paintings depicting this creature has been found all over the continent of North America. This proves that A, there's tons of them, and B, they have been residing on this land for a long time. In fact, it's said that there used to be a lot of siren-type creatures that used to roam the earth. However, the main SIRENHEADs are hostile creatures and attack the other creatures, making their form the most dominant. I mean, hey, survival of the fittest, right? We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the sirens. Now, what do the speakers on SIRENHEAD's head actually do? Clearly, they aren't blasting out nice music or helpful public service announcements. Well, the speakers give him the ability to release a variety of sounds. He uses this as a way to distort and manipulate his victims. He can play any sounds he wants, but typically he emits the sounds of sirens, screams, static, and human conversations. In fact, the sounds are so powerful that they can make your ears bleed and your brain explode. Not only that, he can use the sounds to trick his victims, as he can imitate the voice of anyone he hears. When he attacks a group of people, he can use their voices to distract them or lead them a different way. Moving on to number 4, we have his abilities. So we've already just established that SIRENHEAD has the ability to distort his victims. But what else can he do? Well, SIRENHEADs are super strong. They can break down trees, throw boulders, or move other objects with ease. On top of that, they are super fast as well. So if it's a one-on-one between you and SIRENHEAD, there's no point in even trying. You can't outrun him or even outsmart him. He is also the master at stealth. He can blend in seamlessly with the surrounding forests, so you won't even see him coming. And lastly, he may even be a shapeshifter. It's said that he may be able to transform into anything resembling a tall, thin pole. On top of that, apparently he can transform his head into street lamp lights. So maybe if you're out for a late night stroll, double check your surroundings. In our 3rd spot, we have the brain. SIRENHEAD doesn't even have a brain. Yet he is capable of doing complex tasks and is quite intelligent. Someone tell me how this creature is capable of having strong cognitive abilities but is brainless. So SIRENHEAD can execute elaborate plans, is the master at manipulation, and can think and process information quickly. Seriously, this creature just keeps becoming more and more terrifying. In our second spot, we have his nuclear war ability. Now, what's more terrifying than this giant skinny human-eating creature? Well, possibly the fact that he can cause a false alarm of a nuclear war and then end up creating one. Like, what? This creature just has all the abilities. He already has a lot going for himself. Why does he have to have the ability to destroy the world through nuclear war? These creatures can single-handedly destroy the planet. And in our number 1 spot, we have the Encounter. In 1986, people kept going into the Himalayan mountains, but then they would never return. As a result, they had a bunch of people disappearing without a trace. Now, police were sent to investigate, but when they got there, they heard an extremely loud ringing sound. It got so powerful that it caused some people to lose their hearing altogether, while others had extreme ear and brain damage. They fled the mountain immediately and were never able to find the missing people. Now, they don't know what to think of this, but some believe that that's one of SIRENHEAD's homes and he feasts on tourists or lost hikers.
Picture this. You're hiking in Algonquin Park with some friends. The trail should take around 4 hours, but it's been 5 and you're still moving along. The sun, once high in the sky, is edging nearer and nearer to the horizon. Your water bottles are empty and what little food you brought is almost gone. Is that the same tree you passed earlier? Legs aching, you just want to get back to the car. Maybe head to a bar and have a drink. Yeah, something cold sounds good right about now, doesn't it? Pausing for a moment just to take a breath, you notice a tree in the distance swaying. No, wait, it's moving to the right. Does anyone else see that? The sound of radio static fills the air and your mother calls out to you. That can't be right, your mom's at home, she hates hiking. The trees ahead start to shake. Your pulse races. It's him. SIRENHEAD. A fan favorite cryptid, SIRENHEAD has taken the creepy parts of the internet by storm over the past little while. Plenty of theories circulate, and even his creator is precious with some of the more specific details. This lanky, alarming mimic will be the focus of today's question. What if SIRENHEAD was real? If you're unfamiliar with the lore surrounding our megaphone-mouthed monster, do not worry. I will catch you up on everything you need to know. This shambling giant was created by Trevor Henderson, masterful maker of all things morbid. It is part of his elaborate mythos where he draws terrifying creatures and then incorporates them in digital photos to evoke an extremely creepy feeling. He even has some very short, very spooky stories to accompany a fair deal of these. If you like what you see here, make sure to give him a follow on Twitter to see more of his incredible creations. Henderson has made a few posts elaborating on the details comprising SIRENHEAD's lore, so this is what we know for sure. It's about 40 feet tall, or about the size of a telephone pole. It has dried and mummified skin and looks like rusty metal, with arms as long as its body. The speakers on its head are always playing odd music, snippets of conversation, and it will also play shouted words and numbers when it's agitated. People have seen it with multiple different head arrangements, which is unsettling. Nobody's sure if that means that there are subspecies of SIRENHEAD or if the lone progenitor has the ability to rearrange its loudspeakers. It is most definitely a predator and uses deception to confuse and disorient its prey. SIRENHEAD will play clips of the voices of its victims' loved ones to lure them in. However, it has yet to be revealed if or how it gains nourishment from hunting. Thanks to its ability to blend in with trees, SIRENHEAD can remain totally still for long periods of time while hunting, waiting for an unlucky individual to draw near. It is mostly seen in rural towns and near heavily wooded areas, as these seem to be the places SIRENHEAD has adapted to thrive in. Are we all on the same page now? Fantastic, because if SIRENHEAD were real, there would be a lot of very interesting developments on our dear sweet planet Earth. So earlier I said that SIRENHEAD is a fan favorite, right? Well, upon being discovered as a very real and tangible creature, people would start to worship it. That's not to say that immediately people left and right would convert to Sirenism, but I think its already robust fanbase would definitely look to it as some sort of celebrity or minor deity. More t-shirts would be made, SIRENHEAD videos would go viral, heck, people would even probably start organizing expeditions to try and come in contact with one. Forget the fact that it's extremely dangerous and will kill you. It's time to go visit our friend SIRENHEAD. Now, beyond the scope of regular fandom, it is entirely possible that SIRENHEAD cults pop into existence. Similar to the deity worshipping communities in movies like The Ritual or Rosemary's Baby, people would gather to bask in the glory that is a 40-foot broadcasting beast. Rituals and traditions would be developed, and I'm sure human sacrifice would eventually be introduced into the lifestyle of the worshippers. Whether or not these communities would be sustainable, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Our lanky friend here doesn't have a long list of people he's spared, but humans are resilient. As time went on, people would begin to find patterns and meaning in the different music, voices, and sounds produced. Omens and predictions would be made based on what sort of noises SIRENHEAD generated. Kinda like reading tea leaves, among other types of divination. Again, these predictions wouldn't be reliably accurate, but people see what they want to see, right? It's likely that people would try to find out the sources of all of SIRENHEAD's sounds, but I think that's a recipe for disaster. There are some questions that we're just better off not knowing the answer to. I'll leave it at that. Now, these SIRENHEAD worshippers would not be in the majority. Most rational humans would want to stay the hell away from this thing. Cool as it is, it's creepy, dangerous, and unexplainable. Definitely not everyone's first choice for life mascot. So life outside the forest communes would not likely change too much. Leisure activities like hiking, camping, and hunting would be more closely regulated and, quite honestly, would probably lose a lot of popularity. No one would want to risk a night in the woods with a flimsy tent to protect them. Additionally, there would need to be some changes made in rural communities. A system for detecting and tracking SIRENHEADs would have to be put into place in order to keep innocent people living near forests safe. Whether that means increased ranger patrols or some sort of electronic tracking, it would have to be made effective quite quickly to prevent massive loss of life. In fact, we may see some sort of rural exodus, with huge amounts of people abandoning their pastoral lives in favor of cities free of supernatural risk. Boy, wouldn't that be creepy? Abandoned homes and cottages littering the countryside, as SIRENHEAD and his worshippers roam the wastes. Driving along country roads late at night would take on a whole new level of terror. Keep your radio on low, just in case you hear a different channel playing somewhere outside the car. It's time to put the pedal to the metal. What bothers me most about SIRENHEAD is the aggressive mimicry it exhibits. How did it come to look the way it does? Did it notice that humans took no notice of its presence thanks to its appearance? When did it figure out how to mimic the voices of loved ones to lure them in? See, these abilities imply that it developed with the express purpose of hunting humans. While I'm sure it could hunt other animals by staying still and mimicking cries, it seems specifically adept at killing people. Once all the non-worshippers leave the hunting grounds, eventually SIRENHEAD would run out of people to kill. It's probably not too far a stretch to assume it would then go looking in more urban areas for prey. At first, it would stick out like a sore thumb. But soon, it would adapt to the urban environment. It could pretend to be a lamppost, a metal telephone pole, or other types of urban infrastructure. Good Samaritans answering a call for help would be greeted with swift death. The sirens of emergency vehicles so commonly heard on city streets would be replaced with the siren call of the tall, slim hunter. If there's only one SIRENHEAD, this wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But if the multiple subspecies theory is true, we would be in big trouble. Now, that is just one theory, and it could play out totally differently. SIRENHEAD could be a misunderstood monster with some kindness in it, Iron Giant style. I'd pay big bucks to see SIRENHEAD dunk a basketball or DJ a wicked bush party. But hey, there's no way to know what would actually happen until it does. Until then, be careful while out in the woods, okay? Call your mom before you start the hike, yeah?